stressed out. Like, I mentioned this to you earlier, but I'm like,
What are you
nervous. I don't know.
Why are you nervous?
Why are you nervous?
Why are you nervous?
Because of who I am as a person.
Oh, okay. I thought it was because of him.
No.
He has that effect on people.
I do?
Yeah.
I think people.
Oh, it's not just me that I knew.
You started talking to a tattoo artist in your first session and then you hung out later?
Yeah.
Dang,
How does
come
that
you didn't do
happen?
that?
I've never been invited to hang out with a tattoo artist except for one, but we met prior to knowing that she was a tattoo artist. And so she gave me a tattoo after the fact. And then we're still friends. So that's.
Crazy.
No, I'm just really annoying is what it is.
Oh.
When I was like, blah, 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 blah. And like he had just started tea and like we're both figuring out.
Tea?
Yeah. So
Like British tea?
testosterone?
Oh! Testosterone.
Like British
I
tea?
literally was thinking tea.
Yeah.
That's
I was
great.
like, oh, this tattoo place, like he had tea. Like, oh, that's cool.
Because people drink tea.
Yeah. That's literally how I
No,
understood it.
yeah,
My second
it's
guess.
a shot actually.
Right.
So
Yeah, but my second guess was like tea as in gossip.
Oh, that'd be funny too.
Same.
My
No.
first guess was actual tea that he was drinking. So it's like, oh,
Yeah, same.
he started tea for you, and then like you're like, that's an invitation, you know? Like I have some tea,
Yeah.
like, and then the modern day is usually like, what's the tea?
Mm.
Yeah.
hmm So neither of those have
Neither of them.
been in my experience. I'm afraid.
You're wrong both times.
Yeah.
It's a gay thing.
So when do so
You said you were coming in with ideas.
Actually, I texted them to him and I said, should you forward that to the person we're going to have on today?
he told me that like 2 hours ago.
Mm.
His exact words were, no. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, when I spoke to them, they said they would like to have something in their mind in advance. And then he said, yeah, but...
Oh, so this is on you then.
It's
And then I said, all right, like, I just wanted, for the record, I did my part. I brought up something for you to pass on.
yeah.
And then you chose to not pass it on. And you also said it'll be all right. And then I said to you, all right, I'm going to blame you. And you said, okay.
Okay, but no matter how this went down, I'm coming in with no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
6 a.m. He said I was supposed to.
Go ahead.
You text me saying I was supposed to think of an intro for the episode, but I couldn't come up with anything that we haven't spoken with
Mm.
I did say
them about already. Let's just start with a rant about ice. And then to which I responded, damn, at 6:01 in the morning.
Good lord.
And then
And then,
as I'm working
yeah.
my job, 4:26, you text me, should I read it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask when they felt they might
Oh, no,
have...
no. Right before that, I set it up.
Hmm.
Eva hasn't been on this podcast, right? Right. Are they comfortable talking about themselves? Yes. All right.
Yes.
I got it. Interesting.
Wait, there's something right before that?
There's nothing before that.
Wait, what do you want me to talk about when I...
Oh, at 4:24, you said, dude, I figured it out.
There you
And
go.
I said, what?
Okay, now start from there with that intonation all over again.
All right.
I want to hear all of these. Can you just read through your guys' text messages so I
Yeah.
can understand the vibe?
So after I said damn at 6:01 in the morning, you
Yeah.
text me again at 2:47 p.m. saying, just to be sure, you close, right? And then I responded at 2:56, where you at, man? It's almost 3. And
Yeah.
then you said, you never gave me a time, a location, a server.
I did say that.
And I said, I'm just kidding, bro. I closed today. Lots of projects in the works. Got to meet new people, hang out with friends, more, etc. I'm very fortunate. And then I said all caps, wrong person. And
With
then
the
you
O.
said all caps, LOL.
oh my god.
And then you said, dude, I figured it out.
Yeah.
And I said, what? And you said, Eva hasn't been on the So I Was Told podcast, right? I said, right. And he said, are they comfortable talking about themselves? And I said, yes. And he said, all right, I got it. And then I said, interesting. It's usually not this difficult to start. I think he's just a little nervous.
Why?
He's a little nervous. This is our first guest. That's not Luca.
It's just me.
Dang, where is Luca, dude? We
Uh,
gotta find
He
him.
says hi, by the way. I was talking to him today.
Yeah?
Really?
Mhm. Yeah, I keep up with everybody.
Dang.
What?
Yeah. I told him about that shirt thing. It was so weird.
what shirt thing?
You saw the shirt hanging up.
Oh, yeah. Somebody gave you a shirt at work.
Yeah, it was he came in early to see me, okay?
Oh, he gave you that.
That's happened twice. Twice now. And different customers. It wasn't him the first time. Isn't that weird? I must look like I don't have enough clothes.
So in Eva's experience, a lot of men have come and gifted.
They give me things, but never money, just like dumb shit.
Like what kind of dumb shit?
Let's see. They bring me pastries. They bring me weird coins. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever nannied or babysat or something, but sometimes when I take the kids to the park,
Yeah.
I let them run around the playground and they bring back like little trinkets to me, like stuff that they dig up in the dirt.
Right.
Kind of like that, but they're grown ass fucking men over 40. So
But do they ever give you like weird things?
yeah, I mean, I had a guy, the last guy who gave me a shirt, he actually brought me, I have a photo of it somewhere that I took of like the biggest stack of t-shirts. Like it was like huge. It was so heavy. He handed it to me and he told me to wear them with nothing on.
What?
I'm not
Wait,
joking. This was at work. I told
What?
Yeah, I told the manager. Nobody cares. But
You gotta step up, dog.
Some context. I work with Eva.
Yeah.
We work at the same place, which we will not disclose, but
Denny's.
you are also.
Bro, Denny's would be more fun, I think.
Yeah, Denny's might be more fun. But I have done collaborative posts on Instagram before with Eva, and their username is. Are you okay with me sharing it?
Oh yeah, I love attention.
Birdlets on Instagram. BRDLETS.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta put the bullhorn
Where?
right when you give out the name.
While you're saying the name so nobody can hear it.
All right, got it.
Yeah.
So amazing artist, fantastic, just so fantastic.
How fantastic.
Like really fantastic, like the kind of art that like makes you depressed in a good way.
Hell yeah.
In a good way, because it's
Yeah.
really good at like communicating an experience that is so heavy
Yeah.
that it doesn't seem like you can tell it's real. Like you can tell it's.
Shit.
So yeah, so Eva and I work together, and one of the many experiences that they have is
Do it.
are with men.
Yes, I have so much to say about men, unfortunately.
With mood.
So a customer brought you a stack of shirts and told you not to wear anything below them?
Yeah, he said that I would look really good naked with a giant t-shirt.
Actually,
What?
no, that's crazy.
He said that the first time, and then I was like, nah, that's weird. Like, the thing is, I feel as though they talk so much about, like, you should be, like, standing up for yourself, but there's something, like, in the moment of I feel so violated and scared. I'm like, I could be killed. Like, if I leave the store right now, I might not come back inside. So that's when I kind of, like, shut down, and I'm like, oh, okay. But then he came back with the shirts. And he gave them all to me. And then he started asking me why, like, I wasn't wearing them to work. And then I was like, oh, we're not allowed to wear shirts with patterns at work.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a whole thing.
Do I know this guy?
Yeah.
Is he a regular?
Yep.
Going on, dog?
Is he still coming?
Yep.
Oh, that's so disturbing.
dog?
I didn't know that. This is the first time I've ever heard this.
I do. Well, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I have a boss over me. So
Don't
you
we
ask me
all?
what's going on, and I can't do much without that boss doing something.
Dang.
I've mentioned it. I always tell the boss what's going on. But if they don't want to deal with it, they don't want to deal with it because the customer brings in money. And if it's consistent money, it doesn't matter what I say.
Okay, I kind of have an idea of who it is, but this is technically your first appearance
Yeah.
on this podcast. And the way that this podcast, on one end, we have just episodes where it's just me talking and ranting or whatever for about 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes even less than that. And then the majority of it so far has pretty much been just conversations between myself and this other person. We just talk about things in culture, and it's more of the free form type of discussion.
Yeah.
Well, what's been on your mind lately that you want me to discuss with you or that you would like to hear my input on?
What have we been talking about? What episodes have we been?
Well, the
have been
last one I
airing?
listened to, you were mad about.
Oh wait, you've heard our stuff?
A couple of them,
Oh, we
yeah.
can talk about that. What do you take away from it?
You two are very interesting people.
Hilarious. Which ones have you heard?
I heard obviously I heard that one about you talking about when we bombed Iran and everyone was like, it's World War III, and you like went
Was
on a
this
fucking
last
rant.
week?
Yes, this was last week.
And I heard most of the episode, but it was interesting. And then some of the one about religion, a little bit about that one. And then I also heard like the one where you were talking about things that you would have said to yourself when you were younger. That was interesting. But I haven't listened to all of them because I have a really short attention span, so I bounce around a lot.
No, it's all good.
But I got the vibe that you two had a very, very comfortable relationship and just kind of were able to follow like the flow of wherever the conversation was going. So I'm happy to talk about how angry I am at men at all times. But I'll be polite.
I mean,
Men in general, I've been thinking about a lot recently because
like what?
I think it's interesting how, like, I've noticed since Trump became president, and this happened in 2016 as well, the violence against, like, people that are perceived to be women has gotten so much fucking worse. And I know all of it, it's because they feel empowered to do so.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, in 2016, like, that was when men started, like, laying hands on me in, like, flirtatious ways. You know what I mean? I also was in Chicago, so, like, it's different out there. But I've noticed since he's come back into power too, like, men are so much more open about their views on what women should be doing. Like, you remember, I can't say names, but you know the guy who gets a coffee with an extra shot?
You could always say names and I just bleep them out.
It's fucking okay. Do you know what he said to me today?
Oh, what do you say?
That's crazy. What do you say?
Okay. I mean, like, extremely inappropriate behavior, you know, even up until, like, Trump, like, I feel like he's a good example, but not necessarily in the way that maybe I'm trying to point out. But just in general, he's always been kind of creepy towards me. Always says, like, kind of out of pocket shit about, like, me running away with him, you know, dumb stuff like that. But today he was like, "You're almost 18, right?" And I said, "Yeah, because I'm a fucking liar." And he said, "Let me know when you're legal."
I get the sense he's like an older guy.
Yeah, he's middle-aged.
Okay.
You know, but I've noticed a lot of that kind of rhetoric coming out more, you know, even if I'm talking with, like, other coworkers, like, there are men that have been waiting for her to turn 18 and ask her every single time they come in when she's turning 18. Okay? Like, and that's stuff that didn't happen up until now. Like, they just start running their mouths, and it's odd for me to see it happen a second time.
I've actually never once witnessed any of these interactions,
What?
to be honest with you. Like, I hear a lot. I've heard a lot from Eva about, like, the interactions with men, but I've never been there to witness it.
Why do you think that might be?
Well, for one, we don't really work together that often. And even when we do work together, I'm literally, like, not an earshot. Like, the other day, something had happened and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like an older man, like in his 60s, made comments and was like, "Are you flirting with me?" and stuff like that. I was in the vicinity, but I wasn't listening, like, because I know this customer. He's a regular, and I actually know a lot about his life because he doesn't know who I am, but I know who he is. And I will say he is actually a somewhat prominent religious leader in, like, in a denomination here in California. And he didn't. It wasn't not like he said anything, like, what is it, like, that he should go to jail for, but he just was saying old man creepy things.
Mhm.
I think you rolled up your sleeve or something.
I did. I rolled up my sleeve and he said, "Are you flirting with me? Are you going to show me what a strong girl you are?" First off, I'm not a girl. Just, like, really quick to get that out of the way. Not a girl at all. But that's not a conversation you want to have with a religious leader.
So just old men being old men saying things like that.
But I definitely notice it change as we move more towards, like,
Dang.
this kind of governmental style. And I think have you ever read those articles and stuff about, like, the new Trump women
Yeah, tradwife.
vibe? Yeah. Well, no, not tradwives, but, like, the way women have to look in order to be in Trump's circle.
Oh yeah, the MAGA look.
Yeah, the MAGA look. I feel like as that kind
Okay.
of more traditionally feminine idea comes back into the forefront, men are a little more comfortable saying things that are traditional, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's not that it was even, like, quashed during Biden's, you know, era, because, like, it never really is, but the openness with which they run their mouths, tell you their opinions, take advantage of the power dynamics that they know are there in a service industry space is very weird. And we all talk about it. Like, all the femme people at work are like, "That was gross. That was weird." Sometimes you laugh at it and sometimes you just burn out.
I will say I'm completely unaware with this, except I do witness it sometimes. Just not to the same degree, obviously, because I'm not a woman.
It's infantilizing.
That weird old guy behavior.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
but it's. I mean, I'm not seeing it in old men. I'm just seeing it in older men.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
these older men should already be at the, like, bro, you're Gen X. Like, you should at least. I think you watch TV enough to know that, like,
We don't
nobody
do that
talks
anymore.
like that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's very much a condescending way, or it's very much a way of,
Yeah.
like, you know, oh, you're a sweet thing, or you're this little precious thing, or you're a
Boomer 2.0.
boomer 2.0.
We've discussed this on here, actually.
Maybe, yeah.
Gen X being Boomer 2.0.
Yeah,
That's why they're not as old as the actual boomers, but they do literally all the same
they do.
as you're saying right now.
Yeah,
But go on.
they didn't learn anything. Yeah, I wonder if that's because they're not online. I mean, they
Oh,
are
they're
online,
Yeah, they're online.
but they're not. They're online just like in Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
They're not online other than that.
Mm.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And they're certainly not in circles online where they're being challenged by far. It's just
Mhm.
like a massive echo chamber. So whereas millennials and younger are definitely online in all sorts of spaces,
Yeah.
but all in all sorts of spaces and much longer. So What were the questions that you were going to ask?
First question was a follow-up to you in your workspace.
Mm.
So when you hear him say he's not aware of these things,
Mhm.
or he doesn't usually hear them, what goes through your mind? Why do you think that is? Why do you think he hasn't heard these things?
Well, I think partially because I know how you are at work, which is very much like kind of compartmentalizing what's going on and just kind of like one thing at a time, just like if it's not, if it's not super crucial or whatever, like it's not really worth the energy and stuff.
Yeah.
And I do know that, but it took me a long time to understand it. And I don't think, like, honestly, it pisses me off. But like, what am I, it pisses me off when anybody doesn't like step up. I think part of what bothers me, like, I feel as though, and some of this is self-inflicted, but it's also just based on my like life experience, is that femme people stick together. We have people, like, even in like the small context of this workspace, like we have customers that we see coming and we swap each other out, to support each other. And it is like not even a thought. And I think that kind of camaraderie is like, it's something that has always meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's why I have very rarely felt comfortable around men, even ones who are like allies or feel or are supportive or even listen, because I have so many experiences where when things happen, they aren't there, or they see that we're talking to someone for too long, but they don't come back out. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like removal from the situation mentally, physically, and I think the lack of presence from specifically like cis men has always bothered me. Like we have other men that work there who do like it just doesn't seem to be on their radar in a body language way where I can tell when another woman is uncomfortable. I can tell when the girls are uncomfortable. Like we just know almost, if a guy's talking to you for too long, to back up. Like I can't even fully like verbalize the way that we don't feel safe or the eye contact we do. And I think it took me a while to understand that like it wasn't a personal thing. It just doesn't cross cis men's minds.
Yeah.
Like I remember a conversation you and I had a really long time ago, probably when I first started, and there was a guy who was like talking to me for so long. And I was like really uncomfortable, and I turned around and you were off the floor. And I remember talking to you afterwards and being like, hey, if someone's talking to me for too long, I'm uncomfortable. And you were like, yeah, of course. But like, I had to like initiate that conversation.
Right.
I think just in general, it took me so long just to not take it personally and to understand that like not everybody is going to understand that collective experience, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I don't know. Is that mean? I feel
Recently, me and you talked about like being on code. That's beyond code right there.
Yeah, we did.
That's an example for those of you listening, but
It's not a code that we're familiar with at all.
yeah, and that's going to happen. Like every group is going to have their version of code.
Yeah.
But it's important to have that. So that's a good example. We were talking about music and like why certain scenes are like effed up. We use Machine Gun Kelly as an example. I was like, see, like me and you may not like Machine Gun Kelly. A lot of people do in that scene. And my argument was because you guys are not on code. That's why people like that can come in and there's really no problem. They just come in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so his question to me was like, so like, what do you do going forward and blah, blah, blah. And my thing was like, you got to be on code. You got to decide what this is. After you decide what this is, that's how you can move forward with like, what do you do with those kinds of people? The term gatekeeping gets misused a lot.
Yeah.
People think of gatekeeping as like, I know a bit of information and I'm just not going to tell anybody. It's very like high school. And I think I said this in the episode. I touched on it, but I basically said was like, one, that's wrong. Two, gatekeeping isn't literally shutting people out. It's you're maintaining the integrity of this thing. And so if someone can meet what it is that you need to be in the space, then you can come in. So the walls aren't closed, but you do need to be able to understand whatever things you have to.
Yeah.
You have to be on code. You have to be on code.
In the music scene, it's like, you're not metal. Like, or if you wear a shirt, it's like, okay, name 5 bands. Like,
it's
you're
very
gatekeeping.
like,
You have to fit a certain.
yeah, and that's like the dumbest form of gatekeeping, you know? Whereas like, and if that's the mentality you want to have, it doesn't go anywhere, you know? Quick example would be, there are all kinds of like bars and venues that closed down after 2020 because of the pandemic. But they'll all tell you they were struggling before that. The nail in coffin was the pandemic. They were struggling before that because they were already niche spaces. So they were always on the brink of potentially going out of business because they had a small following. And then because of COVID, only some of the few people that were in those spaces were able to go. So that's it. And if you tell someone who has that very misguided way of thinking about gatekeeping, their thing is always, I love the space, so I'm going to tell no one about it. But in reality, like if you tell no one about your favorite restaurant, it goes out of business. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else, you know? That's where I was getting at when me and him talked about this. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
example of being on code.
That's a great way to explain that. I know you had a second question that you were going to ask, but I think that this is a good place to end this episode. And then next week, we will get into the second question, which I know is going to be geared more towards politics. So if you are listening and you want to hear more of Eva in this episode, then stick around and we'll see you next week. Till then, see you next time.